your butler just turned into a Sentinel zombie?
With a show as grand and captivating as X-Men 97, sometimes we tend to miss the small details against some greater events involving bigger characters. Such has been the case with the first part of the season finale titled Tolerance is Extinction, where the Prime Sentinels have been unleashed by Bastion and Mister Sinister, and the X-Men are left to deal with the chaos and violence. One of the little things that many fans failed to focus on, however, is the fate of Jubilee and Sunspot, aka Roberto, in this episode. In this video, we will try to speculate about what can happen to them after they've been taken prisoner by the Prime Sentinels. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This may be a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
I've been practicing in the danger room. I wanted to surprise you.
How does Jubilee and Sunspot's story arc evolve in the episode? While the X-Men are struggling to find a way to deal with Bastion before it's too late, Jubilee and Roberto are away from the limelight. The episode starts off with Cable telling the X-Men about the kind of threat posed by the Prime Sentinels created by Bastion, and Jubilee and Roberto are blissfully unaware of the extent of the dangers awaiting them. They are dining with Roberto's mother, but a cleverly manipulated war or words soon break out between Roberto's mother and Jubilee. Roberto's mom insists that the X-Men have done little to help the mutants from the Genosha massacre, and she claims to hold an important fundraiser party for their welfare. Jubilee takes offense at such absurd allegations, and she storms out with Roberto for some retail therapy. Clearly, Roberto is loaded with trust money from their super-rich company, and Jubilee enjoys a solid shopping spree. However, their happy get-together is interrupted after Bastion activates the Prime Sentinels all around him, and suddenly, just like the other X-Men, Jubilee and Roberto find themselves in the middle of a Sentinel attack. It all starts with Roberto's butler, who turns into a Prime Sentinel and attacks them. More people at the mall transform into Sentinels and join him for an attack on the mutant duo. Jubilee and Roberto make a run for it, and they are separated in the process. Jubilee soon realizes that she cannot outrun the Prime Sentinels, who can also fly around at great speeds, and she desperately jumps from a rooftop after she is cornered. Luckily for her, it is at this moment that Roberto decides to put some of his mutant skills to good use. We see him in the familiar Sunspot version as he flies in and carries Jubilee away from the pursuing Prime Sentinels. They end up crashing the fundraiser party organized by Roberto's mother, who is clearly embarrassed about her mutant son in front of all her guests. In the previous episode, we have seen how she asked Roberto to keep his mutant identity a secret because people associated with their company would not take too kindly to his real form. In a shocking moment of betrayal from his mother, we see a complete lack of compassion as she refuses to provide shelter for her son and Jubilee. Meanwhile, the pursuing Prime Sentinels arrived on the scene, and Roberto's mother allows them to be taken in by them. Surprisingly enough, the Prime Sentinels do not try to kill them and simply take them away as prisoners.
Meu filho, do what the men say.
Will Jubilee and Roberto be taken to Bastion? Since the Prime Sentinels have taken the mutant duo away, it is the safest assumption that they will be taken to Bastion. The Prime Sentinels are not exactly sentient, free-thinking beings, and their programmed response in all probability is to take Roberto and Jubilee straight to their master. Now, the bigger question is, what can Bastion do with them, especially after Magneto's final move that seems to have depowered all the Prime Sentinels? Firstly, Jubilee is a fond member of the X-Men, and she can be used as a bargaining tool or a hostage. Now that Professor Xavier is finally back amongst the X-Men, we all know that he has a soft spot for Jubilee, whom he has almost treated like his daughter. If Bastion can use her to manipulate the X-Men for a while, it will buy him some time to hit back with a set of Prime Sentinels. What if Bastion tries to turn them into Prime Sentinels? Ever since X-Men 97 revealed that Magneto was alive after the Genosha massacre and held hostage by Bastion, everyone assumed that the evil mastermind intended to turn Magneto into one of his Prime Sentinels. However, in the first part of the season finale, Dr. Cooper frees Magneto, who then uses his powerful electromagnetic impulse to take down much of human infrastructure and even the Prime Sentinels. Under these circumstances, Bastion and Mister Sinister will need a quick supply of powerful Prime Sentinels to replace their fallen forces. Now that Roberto and Jubilee are in his possession, it can be a lucrative opportunity for Bastion to turn either one or both of them into deadly Prime Sentinels to fight the X-Men. Although this is a possibility, it seems relatively unlikely because so far the process of transformation into Prime Sentinels seem to be irreversible. The X-Men 97 showrunners might not be willing to get rid of Jubilee so early into the show, given that they're already planning for the next season. Well, they do have the option of introducing another change and introducing a cure for the Prime Sentinel condition, where the individual can get back to his old self, but we wouldn't put our money on it. Will Sunspot sacrifice himself for Jubilee? So far in X-Men 97, we haven't seen Roberto truly transform into Sunspot, the powerful mutant we have seen in the comic books. In the first part of the season finale, however, he briefly shows glimpses of his true powers when he saves Jubilee from the Prime Sentinels. And this brings us to the possibility of him sacrificing himself to save Jubilee later on. There have been a similar instance in the comic books where Sunspot sacrificed himself so that the rest of the team could get away safely, and given the slight romantic inclinations between him and Jubilee, the possibility cannot be ruled out here as well. What adds more fuel to this speculation is that the teaser promo of the next episode doesn't show Roberto, even though Jubilee can be seen in action. It will be undeniably a tragic outcome to the budding romance, but given the history of X-Men shows and storylines, it is not unthinkable and can be a potential outcome of the current state. What if the X-Men can save both of them? Yes, as simple as this sounds, it is still the most likely and logical outcome of the brief imprisonment faced by Jubilee and Roberto. Professor Xavier is back among the X-Men, and he has summoned everyone from Storm to Wolverine to Beast and Cyclops. The combined force under a guided plan is capable enough to rescue Jubilee and Roberto from this crisis, and it will ensure that both mutants can fight alongside the X-Men in the bigger battles to come. Now that the Prime Sentinels have been depowered by Magneto, it might give Roberto and Jubilee the perfect opportunity to escape, because even their captors must have been depowered upon impact. We have to wait for a week longer to find the answers to all these questions, but it is safe to say that the show has set things up just perfectly for the grand finale. Marvelous verdict. The ideal mini-crisis amidst the larger chaos. X-Men storylines have done this since the days of the comic books or the earlier 90s animated series, and X-Men 97 seems to follow its predecessor in this regard. The whole crisis around the captivity of Jubilee and Roberto is the perfect anticipation for the fans, even in the greater scheme of things, and we're quite certain that their fate will ultimately be one of the few outcomes that we've discussed. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below about your thoughts on the whole Prime Sentinel saga, and also on the fate of Jubilee and Sunspot. Do you think Sunspot will have a similar fate as in the comic books, or would there be a happy ending in store for the budding couple? If you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.